Welcome to this channel to hear a new information, story, autography, news, and biography. Today I want to tell you how America was founded, who know America, who was founder of America. Listen up to the end to hear amazing event. The history of America begins thousands of years before it became a nation-state. Long before European exploration, indigenous peoples inhabited North America, forming diverse and complex societies adapted to their environments. These societies developed agriculture, trade networks, political systems, spiritual traditions, and rich cultures. Civilizations such as the ancestral Pueblones, Mississippian culture, Iroquois Confederacy, and many others shaped the continent's early history and laid social foundations that existed long before any European arrival. Indigenous nations were not isolated groups but interacted extensively through trade, diplomacy, and sometimes conflict. They cultivated crops like corn, beans, and squash, managed land sustainably, and created governing systems that influenced later political ideas. Despite this, their histories were often marginalized or erased after European colonization began. Understanding America's history requires recognizing that it did not begin with Europeans, but with native peoples who lived on the land for millennia. European involvement in the Americas began in 1492, when Christopher Columbus, sailing under the Spanish flag, reached the Caribbean. Although Columbus believed he had found a new route to Asia, his voyages introduced Europe to lands previously unknown to them. His expeditions led to further exploration and conquest by European powers, including Spain, France, Portugal, the Netherlands, and England, marking the beginning of European colonization of the Americas. Following Columbus, Spain established vast territories in Central and South America, while France and England focused on North America. European colonization brought profound consequences, including the spread of disease, warfare, forced labor, and displacement of indigenous populations. These events dramatically reduced native populations and altered the social and political landscape of the continent, shaping the early development of what would later become America. England began establishing permanent colonies in North America in the early 1600s. Jamestown, founded in 1607 in present-day Virginia, became the first successful English settlement. In 1620, the Pilgrims founded Plymouth Colony in New England. These early colonies struggled with harsh conditions but gradually grew through agriculture, trade, and continued migration from Europe. Over time, 13 British colonies developed along the Atlantic coast. Although each colony had its own local government, they were all under British authority. The colonies became economically productive, exporting raw materials such as tobacco, rice, and timber to Britain. However, they were also subject to British laws, taxes, and trade restrictions designed to benefit the British Empire rather than the colonists themselves. By the mid-1700s, many colonists began to see themselves as distinct from Britain. Enlightenment ideas about natural rights, liberty, and self-government spread throughout the colonies. Colonists increasingly questioned why they should be taxed and governed by a distant monarchy in which they had no direct representation. This growing sense of political identity laid the groundwork for revolution. Tensions escalated after Britain imposed new taxes to pay for wars and imperial expenses. Laws such as the Stamp Act, Townshend Acts, Anti-Act angered colonists and led to protests and boycotts. Events like the Boston Massacre in 1770 and the Boston Tea Party in 1773 intensified hostilities and convinced many colonists that British rule threatened their freedoms. Armed conflict began in 1775 with battles at Lexington and Concord between British troops and colonial militias. This marked the start of the American Revolutionary War. Colonial leaders gathered to decide their future, debating whether reconciliation with Britain was possible or whether full independence was necessary. On July 4, 1776, representatives of the 13 colonies adopted the Declaration of Independence. written primarily by Thomas Jefferson. The document declared that the colonies were free and independent states. It argued that all people are born with natural rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that governments exist to protect those rights. This moment is considered the formal founding of America as a nation. America was not founded by a single individual but by a group of leaders known as the Founding Fathers. George Washington led the Continental Army and later became the first president. Thomas Jefferson authored the Declaration of Independence. John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and others played vital roles in diplomacy, military leadership, and political theory. The Revolutionary War lasted until 1783, when Britain formally recognized American independence in the Treaty of Paris. The new nation faced enormous challenges, including war debt, political disagreements, and the task of creating a stable government. These challenges tested whether the revolutionary ideals could survive in practice. The Revolutionary War lasted until 1783, when Britain formally recognized American independence in the Treaty of Paris. The new nation faced enormous challenges, including war debt, political disagreements, and the task of creating a stable government. These challenges tested whether the revolutionary ideals could survive in practice. Initially, the United States operated under the Articles of Confederation, which created a weak central government. Recognizing its failures, leaders convened the Constitutional Convention in 1787. The result was the U.S. Constitution, which established a federal system of government with separate executive, legislative, and judicial branches to prevent the concentration of power. The Constitution was ratified in 1788, and the Bill of Rights was added soon after to protect individual freedoms such as speech, religion, press, and fair trials. These documents became the foundation of American democracy and remain central to the nation's identity. They reflected the founders' belief in liberty, representation, and the rule of law. The name America predates the founding of the United States. It does not come from Christopher Columbus, nor was it chosen by the Founding Fathers. Instead, the name originates from Amerigo Vespucci, an Italian explorer who traveled to the New World in the late 15th and early 16th centuries. Amerigo Vespucci was significant because he recognized that the lands discovered by Columbus were not part of Asia, as previously believed, but an entirely new continent. His letters and accounts describing this new world circulated widely in Europe and influenced how scholars and mapmakers understood global geography. In 1507, a German cartographer named Martin Waldseemüller created a world map that labeled the new continent America, using the Latinized feminine form of Amerigo Vespucci's first name. This followed the European tradition of naming continents with feminine names. The map became influential, and the name spread across Europe. Over time, the name America came to refer to both North and South America as geographic regions. By the time the 13 colonies declared independence in the 18th century, the term was already well established. The colonists did not name the continent themselves but inherited a name that had been in use for. When the new nation formed, it adopted the name United States of America. The word United States emphasized that the country was a union of independent states, while America connected it to the continent on which it was located. The name reflected both political unity and geographic identity. America was named not to honor Amerigo Vespucci as a founder, but because his work helped Europeans understand the existence of a new continent. The United States of America emerged later as a nation founded on revolutionary ideals of freedom, self-government, and equality under the law. Its history is complex, shaped by indigenous roots, European colonization, revolution, and the ongoing struggle to live up to its founding principles. Don't forget to subscribe for more information. Thank you for listening.